Her phone lit up at 2:14 a.m. It was face down on the bathroom counter, buzzing quietly beneath the flickering LED bulb above the mirror. We were out of toothpaste again, and I'd gone in half asleep, grumbling to myself, still wearing the same t-shirt I'd worn 3 days straight. If I hadn't glanced at the screen, if I hadn't reached for it without thinking, maybe I'd still be asleep right now, dreaming about the life I thought I had. But the name on the screen made something inside me go still. Harrison Crescent Moon. That stupid moon emoji. I don't even know why that was the thing that made my stomach turn. But it did. It felt intimate, soft, familiar in a way that didn't belong to me. I didn't open the message right away. I just stood there staring at the glowing screen like it was a bomb counting down. I'm not proud of what I did next. But I did it. I unlocked it. I knew the passcode. Of course I did. 7 years together, 3 of those married, and I still memorize her coffee orders, her favorite candle scent, and the way she hums when she's folding laundry. Knowing her passcode wasn't betrayal. But reading the message? That changed everything. Still thinking about what you whispered in the elevator today. You meant that, right? You'd leave him if you could. There was more. I read it all. Every word. Every gif. Every photo I wish I could bleach out of my memory. And the part that gutted me? She responded. At 2:16 a.m., while I was still in the bathroom, frozen like a ghost clutching her phone with shaking hands, she responded. You know I did. He's sweet, but he's not you. I swear I felt something crack in my ribcage. Not a metaphor. A real, physical shift. Like my bones had changed shape to make room for the truth I never wanted. I put the phone back exactly where I found it. Screen down. Quiet. She was asleep in bed when I returned, breathing steady, like nothing had happened. Like I hadn't just watched my entire sense of reality fold in on itself. I laid down beside her. Eyes open. Mind racing. Pretending. I haven't slept since. And I haven't told her I know. But the thing is, I didn't tell anyone else, either. Not my brother. Not my coworker Josh, who always says he saw it coming whenever something bad happens to anyone. Not my mom, who still thinks Mara's the best thing that ever happened to me. Maybe she was. I don't even know anymore. All I know is that something in me has snapped, and I don't know how to glue it back together without cutting my hands in the process. This isn't a story about revenge. Or maybe it is. I don't know yet. But I do know this. What she whispered in that elevator. I wasn't supposed to hear it. But now that I have, I can't unhear it. I watched her stir the creamer into her coffee like she always did, slow, gentle circles, like she was painting the surface of the cup. It was 6:42 a.m., a Thursday. The kitchen smelled like cinnamon and betrayal. She stood barefoot in one of my old shirts, humming to herself like we weren't living in 2 completely different versions of our marriage. I was sitting at the counter, staring into a bowl of soggy cereal, trying to remember how it felt to breathe like a normal person. She looked up at me, smiled that same easy smile she used to flash at me across crowded rooms when we were younger. And then, without hesitation, she leaned over and kissed my forehead. Don't forget to water the plants before the sun gets too harsh, she said, like she wasn't texting a man named Harrison until 2 in the morning. Like she didn't call me sweet but not you. I wanted to scream. I wanted to grab the coffee mug and throw it into the sink just to hear something break, anything, because inside I was already shattering. But I nodded instead. Said, sure, like a coward. Like the version of me she thinks I still am. I didn't go to work that day. I said I had a stomach bug. That wasn't a lie. I sat in my car in the garage for nearly 3 hours. I played voice memos from years ago. Her laugh. Her saying, I do. Her leaving me voicemails when she was running late. The ones that always ended with, love you, love you, love you. I deleted them all. I needed to know who Harrison was. It was all I could think about. Every time her phone buzzed, my chest got tighter. So when she left for her morning jog, I made the dumbest and most desperate decision of my life. I took screenshots. Of her messages. Of her calendar. Of a picture she'd sent him wearing that black dress she said was just for our anniversary. I sent them to myself and deleted the evidence. Every trace. I moved like a spy in my own kitchen, heart slamming against my ribs like it was trying to break free from my chest. And then I opened the calendar entry that made my knees go weak. Client consultation, 11 a.m., /room 7C/Harrison. I know that building. She said she does freelance design work for a real estate group there. She always made it sound boring. Deadlines, revisions, invoices. She never mentioned working with someone named Harrison. Now I knew. He wasn't some distant fantasy. He was real. Close. Tangible. They had meetings scheduled in tiny private rooms. I sat back on the couch and laughed. Not a real laugh. One of those dry, bitter exhales that barely counts as a sound. That night, she told me she was exhausted, that she needed a shower and sleep. I watched her walk past me, towel in hand, humming again. Always humming. That sound used to mean comfort. Now it made my teeth clench. I stared at the lemon tree outside our kitchen window, and for the first time in years, I hated it. I hated the stupid symbolism, the forced optimism, the fake, we're growing together image we tried so hard to keep up for everyone else. I slept on the couch, claiming back pain. She didn't ask questions. The next morning, she texted me from the office, telling me not to forget to sign the water bill. I replied, of course. Love you. She replied, love you more. I looked at the screen for a long time. That kiss emoji burned. She was lying straight through her thumbs. And I still couldn't tell her I knew. Not yet. Because I needed more than a truth, I needed a plan. Something final. Something undeniable. And maybe, if I played it right, she'd hand me the match herself. I just had to let her think I was still in the dark, while I prepared to flip the lights on. I found him. It didn't take much. A little scrolling, a few Google searches, and suddenly Harrison Crescent Moon had a face. His LinkedIn profile was polished, creative director at Lindway Realty, smiling in front of some rooftop bar in New York. He had one of those symmetrical, annoyingly likable faces. Every photo screamed confidence. Meanwhile, I still had a picture of me from 2014 as my work badge because I kept forgetting to update it. But that wasn't what bothered me the most. It was the comments. The likes. One from Mara, 6 days ago. This is gold, on a reel of his, where he was giving a talk on elevating space with soul. Soul. The same word she used to describe our wedding vows. Now she was giving that to him? I kept scrolling. Eventually, I found a photo from a corporate retreat. Her hand was on his shoulder. Casual. Innocent to anyone else. But I knew Mara. I knew the way she leans in when she likes someone. The angle of her wrist, the softness in her eyes. I'd seen that expression before, only it used to be directed at me. I was in the living room, laptop open, when she walked in. She startled me. What are you doing? She asked. Just updating some billing stuff, I said, which was technically true. I closed the tab quickly. Too quickly. She didn't question it, but her eyes lingered for a second too long. Or maybe I just imagined that. That night, I dreamed she left. No yelling. No suitcase. Just gone. The dream felt peaceful, which scared me more than the affair itself. The fact that part of me was already preparing for her absence, that's when I realized how far gone we were. Still, I kept pretending. Saturday came. She had another client brunch. I kissed her goodbye and watched from the window as she pulled away in her little silver Prius. As soon as the taillights disappeared, I got in my car and followed. Like some tragic parody of a detective, gripping the steering wheel with palms that wouldn't stop sweating. She drove across town to that real estate building, parked in the back lot, and walked inside with a bounce in her step. 5 minutes later, Harrison strolled in from the opposite direction. No briefcase. No files. Just 2 coffees and a grin. I waited. 1 hour passed. Then 2. They never came out. I drove home in silence. When she got back later that afternoon, she came through the door with a bouquet of flowers, roses, of all things, and said one of her clients had an extra arrangement and didn't want them to go to waste. I said they were beautiful. I kissed her forehead. She smiled. She didn't know I knew they were from him. The same vase she used to put my anniversary flowers in now held evidence of her lie, sitting right there on our kitchen table. I couldn't sleep that night. Not even a little. So I got up, walked to the kitchen, and opened her laptop. I knew she saved passwords. She's always been careless like that. Within seconds, I was inside her email. And that's when I saw it. A draft. Unsent. Subject line. I can't keep doing this to him. My hands went cold. My eyes moved faster than I could think. Asterisk H. Sometimes I think I should just tell him. Rip it off like a Band-Aid. But then I see the way he looks at me, like he still believes in me. And it makes me hate myself. I don't know if I can leave. I know what we have is real, but Curtis, he's not a bad man. He's just not. You. Give me time. Please. Asterisk. That last line. Please. Like he was the one suffering. I closed the laptop gently. Went back to bed. Lay beside her while she slept, mouth slightly open, breathing softly like an angel painted on a cracked ceiling. And I knew, deep in my gut, that I wasn't going to confront her. Not yet. Because this This was a performance. And if she was going to keep playing her role, so would I. But I would be the one writing the final scene. She asked if we could go out for dinner. That was her exact wording. Go out for dinner. Not, let's go out to celebrate. Or, we haven't had time for us in a while. It was clinical. Polite. Like someone asking a coworker to grab lunch. I hesitated for half a second before saying yes. We went to a place called Emerson's, some trendy, upscale farm-to-table thing she'd raved about for months. The kind of place with too many sauces and not enough food on the plate. I wore a navy button-up I hadn't touched in over a year. She wore a black wrap dress I'd never seen before. The moment we sat down, I knew the evening wasn't for me. She was glowing. Not the soft, quiet glow I used to recognize, but something sharp, giddy, almost frantic. She ordered wine before I could even open the menu. She was on her phone a lot. Not hiding it, not lying about it, just distracted. Like I was a prop across the table. A placeholder. She didn't even flinch when I said, "You look beautiful." Her reply was automatic. "Thanks, babe." Like muscle memory. Halfway through the meal, she started talking about a new project she might get. "It's not confirmed," she said, stabbing her asparagus. "But if it happens, I might be flying to Portland for a week or two." I asked, "Is this with Harrison?" She paused. Her fork froze midair. I watched her eyebrows lift just a touch before she composed herself. "Why would you say that?" I shrugged. "You mentioned him a few weeks ago. Said he was leading some new development wing." She blinked, then smiled. "Wow, look at you, actually remembering my work stuff." That stung. I wanted to ask if she remembered how I used to print her invoices when her printer jammed, or how I reorganized her entire Google Drive without her asking because she was always misplacing drafts. But instead, I smiled back. She touched my hand gently. "Let's not talk about work tonight, okay?" That was rich, coming from her. The rest of the evening passed like a play we both knew the lines to. Laughs where there should be laughs. Long, romantic pauses filled with bread we didn't eat. She even leaned across the table at one point, touched my wrist, and said, "I missed this." I nodded, pretending to sip my wine. I didn't trust myself to speak. When we got home, she kissed me harder than she had in months. Her hands went to my face, her lips soft and familiar. For a second, just one, I let myself believe it. That this was real. That she chose me again. But then her phone buzzed. She broke away. Smiled. "Probably my sister," she whispered, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. I didn't ask. She went to the bathroom, phone in hand. And I stood alone in the hallway, staring at the lemon tree through the back window. It was dark, just a silhouette now, swaying in the breeze like it had secrets of its own. The next morning, I checked the security app. I'd installed it months ago after a neighborhood break-in. Motion-activated cameras synced to cloud storage. She never bothered with the app herself. She said it made her anxious. At 2:11 a.m., she went out to the patio. She was on the phone, pacing slowly, barefoot, wrapped in one of my sweatshirts. I watched her lift the phone to her lips, whisper something I couldn't hear, and laugh. Not the laugh she gave me over wine and duck confit. A different laugh. Warmer. Private. Sacred. She ended the call, stood still for a moment, and looked up at the moon like it was listening. Then she came back in, crept into bed beside me, and placed her hand on my chest like nothing had happened. I didn't move, because I was starting to realize something terrifying. This wasn't a story about betrayal. It was a story about replacement. And I was the only one who hadn't left the stage. Sunday morning came with fake sunlight, one of those cloudy days where the sky tries to trick you into believing it's clear. She was in the kitchen making French toast, humming along to some indie playlist she loved in college, like she wasn't up until after 2, whispering into the phone beneath the stars. I sat on the couch pretending to scroll through the news, heart crawling like an insect beneath my skin. I kept staring at her phone. It was plugged into the wall across the room. Charging. Quiet. Innocent. But I knew better now. That thing might as well have been a loaded gun pointed at my chest. She left it there when she went upstairs to grab something from the laundry. And I don't know what came over me. I don't do things like this. I'm not bold or invasive or whatever. But I stood up, walked straight to it, unlocked it, and went straight for the Photos app. I didn't even know what I was hoping to find. Maybe confirmation? Maybe closure? Or maybe just something so undeniable that I could finally stop pretending this wasn't happening. The folder was named Archived. A harmless title. Almost boring. But when I opened it, There they were. Screenshots. Dozens of them. Texts. Videos. Memes. Selfies. And then pictures. Her and Harrison. Together. Not indecent. Not explicit. But real. Her in his car, leaning on his shoulder. Her wearing that same black wrap dress in a dimly lit elevator mirror, standing close enough that there was no mistaking what they were doing before or after that photo was taken. And then there was a video. 37 seconds long. I hesitated. My finger hovered over it. But I played it. The camera was shaky, clearly recorded by her. She was laughing as she walked backward into a hotel room, the camera turning to catch Harrison locking the door behind them. She whispered, "We have 30 minutes before I need to be home." And he said, "That's all I need." She giggled, like a teenager sneaking around behind her curfew. I didn't finish watching. I couldn't. My hands were shaking. My chest felt like it was imploding. But I didn't cry. I just stood there in the middle of our quiet living room, sunlight streaming in through the blinds, birds chirping outside, while my world folded in on itself. And then I heard her footsteps coming back down the stairs. I locked the phone, put it back exactly where it was. Sat down just in time to hear her say, "I can't find the black laundry bag again. You move it." I shook my head. "Nope." She kissed the top of my head like nothing was wrong and went back to making toast. I couldn't look at her. Later that night, I backed up those photos and videos to a private cloud folder. Labeled it insurance. I don't know what I was thinking. Maybe I thought I'd confront her with them. Maybe I thought I'd email them to Harrison's boss. Maybe I just wanted proof that I wasn't crazy. Because she was still pretending. Smiling. Touching my arm at dinner. Talking about weekend plans with my parents like she wasn't living a double life under my nose. And I let her. I sat beside her during movie night, let her tuck her feet under my legs, laughed at the dumb romantic comedy she picked, and I kept her secret for her. Because that's what I'd become now, the guardian of her lie. She had no idea the ground beneath her was rotting. But I did. And now I was waiting for the perfect moment to let it all collapse. She told me she was going to the grocery store. Said we were low on eggs, even though we weren't. I knew that because I had reorganized the fridge that morning. There were 8 eggs, perfectly fine. But I just nodded, didn't argue. She grabbed her purse, gave me a quick kiss on the cheek, and left humming. Again with the humming. 5 minutes later, my phone buzzed. Motion alert. Front porch camera, active. I opened the app. She wasn't heading to the car. She was on the front steps, pacing, talking on the phone. I turned up the audio feed, not expecting much. I figured it was a call to her sister, or maybe one of those drawn-out conversations with her friend Chloe. But it wasn't. "I told you I'm handling it," she said. A pause. "No, he doesn't suspect anything. If anything, he's acting more attentive lately. It's honestly making this harder." I froze. My hands went cold. She wasn't talking to a friend. This wasn't casual. This was him. Another pause. Her voice softened, lowered. "Last night? No, nothing happened. He was quiet, distant, but not confrontational. I think he still trusts me. Or maybe he's just afraid of what he might hear if he asks too many questions." There was laughter. Hers. Soft and bitter. "I feel like I'm splitting myself in half. One version of me in this house, the other with you. It's exhausting. But when I'm with you, it feels like I'm really alive." She stopped pacing, leaned against the wooden railing, and whispered, "I'm trying to do this the right way. I owe him that much. But I can't just disappear without hurting him." Then her voice cracked, just slightly. "I think part of him knows. But he's pretending not to, because it's easier to be in denial than it is to accept the truth." I stared at my phone screen, heart pounding like a drum in a locked closet. I felt something inside me twist, rage, heartbreak, shame, all tangled together like a knot I couldn't pull loose. But I didn't go outside. I didn't interrupt. I just watched. And I listened. She ended the call after a few minutes and left like nothing had happened. Got in her car. Drove off to who knows where. Maybe she really did go to the store. Maybe she didn't. It didn't matter anymore. When she came home, I asked how the store was. She said it was crowded. "Holiday rush starting early," she joked, dropping a bag of granola on the counter like proof. I wondered if she had bought that just in case I asked. I smiled and nodded. Then I walked to the laundry room, shut the door, and collapsed onto the floor. I don't know how long I sat there, hunched over the tile, breathing in that artificial lavender scent she liked so much. It all felt surreal. Like I was watching my own life from a distance, completely powerless to reach into the screen and stop it. That night, after she fell asleep, I went into the backyard, stared at that stupid lemon tree again. For a moment, I imagined ripping it out of the ground with my bare hands. Just digging in, clawing at the dirt, tearing it loose. I think I needed to destroy something, anything, just to prove to myself that I was still here, that I wasn't fading into the background of my own story. Instead, I did something different. I grabbed a notebook from the garage, sat under the porch light, and started writing. Not a diary, not a confession. Something more dangerous. I wrote the letter I would leave her, the one she would find when I disappeared. I didn't finish it. Not yet. I just wrote the first sentence. You knew exactly what you were doing when you thought I wasn't listening. And then I closed the notebook. Because this wasn't the end. This was just the moment before the curtain drops. I'd always believed that when the truth finally surfaced, it would come with chaos. Raised voices, broken plates, accusations hurled across the living room like grenades. But the truth doesn't always scream. Sometimes, it smiles at you over coffee and asks how you slept. That's what she did the next morning. Same robe. Same soft voice. You were tossing a lot last night, she said, handing me a mug. Bad dream. I looked into her eyes, nodded, and said, yeah, something like that. But the real dream, the one I lived through wide awake, was so much worse than anything my subconscious could have conjured. She sipped her coffee like everything was fine, and I let her. I let her lie to my face with the same mouth that once told me she couldn't imagine life without me. I had a plan forming. Not revenge. I'm not that guy. I can barely return a shirt without apologizing to the cashier. But I wanted clarity. Finality. I needed her to show me who she was without the performance. I needed to give her a moment where she thought I didn't know, so she could reveal everything on her own. And fate handed it to me on a silver platter. That afternoon, Mara texted me saying she was going to a networking mixer hosted by her client's firm. I replied with my usual have fun and added a thumbs up emoji just to keep things unassuming. Then I called my cousin Liam. He's a quiet guy who works in building maintenance across the city. I asked him for one favor. He didn't ask questions. Just said, send me the address. I did. At 6:42 p.m., I received a photo. Mara, in a red dress, standing in the lobby of the Scylla building, smiling, but not at the camera. At him. Harrison was beside her, hand on her back, whispering something that made her laugh like the version of her I hadn't seen in years. The caption from Liam said only one word, together. I stared at it until my phone screen dimmed and went black. I didn't feel anger. Not this time. I felt something colder, cleaner. Like clarity had finally cut through the fog of confusion I'd been stumbling through for weeks. She came home late that night. Said she had too much wine. Kicked off her heels by the door and flopped onto the couch with a fake yawn. You'd hate those mixers, she mumbled. So many self-important guys flexing their titles. I smiled and asked if she met anyone interesting. She hesitated. Just for a second. No. Just the usual faces. And that was it. She handed me the blade herself. Wrapped it in silk. Called it honesty. And I took it with both hands. The next day, I took time off work. Told them I needed a few personal days. Then I booked a hotel suite under an old login she didn't know I still had access to back when we used to plan anniversary weekends. I paid in full for 2 nights. Deluxe suite. Balcony. Champagne add-on. The whole fantasy. Then I wrote her a note. It was short. Just 12 words. Meet me at the Evergreen on Friday night. Dressed to impress. See. I left it in her purse. I knew she checked it every morning before work. And sure enough, I saw her expression when she found it. A flash of confusion. Then something else. Glee. She thought I was taking her away. That I was making a grand gesture. That maybe I was clawing to win her back. She had no idea the stage was hers now. The lights were on. The curtains were open. And I was done being in the audience. She left the house Friday in a flurry of perfume and anticipation. I stayed behind, watching from the front window. My bag was already packed. My car was loaded. The only thing I hadn't done yet was leave, because I needed to hear it. One last time. I needed to be there when her fantasy shattered. So I drove to the Evergreen early. I didn't check in. I parked across the street. Waited. And at exactly 7:04 p.m., Mara walked in wearing that red dress again. Only she wasn't alone. Harrison followed her in. They laughed. She held his hand. And that's when I knew it. She hadn't come expecting me. She had come expecting him. The moment she walked through those double glass doors with Harrison, holding his hand like it had always been his, something inside me settled. It didn't explode. It didn't break. It settled, like a storm that had finally exhausted itself. There was no scream, no final blow, just clarity, calm, and the kind of silence that doesn't ask for permission. She looked radiant in that red dress, like a woman stepping into a future she believed she owned. Harrison whispered something into her ear. She laughed, carefree, weightless. And for the first time, I didn't feel the usual stab of betrayal. I felt freedom. I watched from across the street, inside my car, engine off, lights out. A silent witness to the last lie I'd ever let her tell. I didn't go inside. I didn't confront her. I didn't make a scene or deliver a speech that would go viral on some justice-hungry subreddit. I just drove away. I took the back roads out of the city. Windows down. No music. Just the rush of air and my own breath slowly returning to a rhythm that felt like mine again. I didn't cry. I didn't curse. I just drove, further and further from the version of myself that had clung to her like she was air and I was drowning. By the time I reached the cabin, an old rental tucked into the edge of a quiet lake, I felt like I'd arrived somewhere sacred. Not just a location, but a truth. A new chapter one hadn't even realized I deserved. The next morning, I brewed coffee at sunrise and watched ducks drift across the still water. My phone buzzed once. A text from Mara. "Where are you? Why weren't you at the Evergreen? Call me." I turned the phone off. That was the last time I read her words. Over the next few weeks, I started untangling the knot she left behind. Quietly, deliberately, I spoke to a lawyer, transferred my savings into a private account, canceled the joint credit card. I never blocked her. I didn't need to. She'd already made herself a stranger. But here's where the story doesn't spiral. Here's where it bends towards something better. I reconnected with people. My cousin Liam and I started hiking again. I signed up for a cooking class, just because I could. I even reached out to my high school art teacher, the one who once told me I had a knack for stories. I started writing, really writing, filling up journals not about her, but about me. Who I was. Who I'd buried. Who I might become. And slowly, the ache became a scar. Still there, still tender sometimes, but no longer bleeding. Months passed. Then, one morning, I met someone at a bookstore. Her name was Nadine. She reached for the same paperback as I did. We both laughed. Awkward. Genuine. No moon emojis. No secrets. Just two people who liked the smell of old paper and second chances. We got coffee. Then dinner. Then something resembling hope. She knows my story. The whole messy, painful, embarrassing arc. And she didn't flinch. She listened. Then told me hers. We're not rushing. We're not pretending. But we are trying. And for the first time in a very, very long time, so am I. Because I thought the worst thing in the world was losing someone who made me feel loved. But it wasn't. The worst thing was believing I didn't deserve more. And the best thing was finally choosing to live like I do.